The pitch. Worn. The worn patches, like there. Might be an image there, I could use an image, there, if I can. Think of 1. At this stage of the season. It might too stand for what these two teams are like, are doing. If I can think of one. Always, at the start of each match, the excitement, often the only moment of excitement, that this might be the one match, the match in which someone betters Payne's 10 goals, where Hughie Gallagher after being floored nods one in while sitting down. Where the extraordinary happens, something that makes it stand out. The match one remembers and talks about for years after wards, the rest of one's life. The one moment, the one match. A new beginning, is it? But already I suspect the worst of these two sides. Now as they kick off I doubt they can play well enough to make this a memorable match. I have no interest in who wins, am here to do a job only, competently. I have my pride. But there can be no real interest for me unless I care who wins, but cannot, as some do, choose arbitrarily one team, support them for no real reason. My loyalty was committed as a boy to Chelsea and no other. I cannot be interested in which of these teams wins, City or United, so hope only for the extraordinary, for the one match, but have to be prepared, as always, in everything, to settle for less. This ground has a score indicator, a clock. 2. Both fairly uncommon, at the popular end, the so-called popular end, which in the way of their use of words and their scale of reference is of course the cheapest terrace, the worst place to see the match, no cover. In the nature of these things, they're things. City's goal had a narrow escape alter. That, cliché. Cross it through. Later early on when their goalkeeper, the prehensile or something, Phipps dropped a high center from Lomax Hunt fearlessly, courageously, indomitably, recklessly, notwithstanding dropped himself, furloughed it and smothered the attempts of two converging United forwards to force the haul into the net. Or some thing. Hope I won't need to use that. The divisions, railings, ad hoc, arbitrary, more or less, how much money you pay. The class divisions, already. My mind wanders off this incompetent linkman casting around for some opponent to force the pass and thus relieve him of the responsibility for doing something constructive with the ball. In the distance a water tower stacks, a green tower crane. Again Phipps was at Fiesole when he was caught too far out high. A long tentative thought fizzle. Cross. Fiume United defender Thompson. Hut to his obvious relief the haul landed on the top netting just behind the Har clumsy. Of course. City were promoted only last season so that there is some excuse, I suppose, for their not being up to first division standards. No, that's no excuse. That's rubbish. You'd think they'd be so used to winning they'd go on, many teams do. But not this one. They just haven't anything to rise above mediocrity, no stars, even. The competent players look good in this company. And what excuse for United? A slip pass it along to the next reporter, 24,833 poor Sods have paid good money to see this rubbish. It was obviously not Phipps' day. They'll get the apostrophe wrong. Or do I underestimate them? And yet in one way it was his lucky day. Holman, hunting, yes. Round 4. A way through, that's the sort of horrible pun they hate. I enjoy, and trying to get through them. 2 found a gap in City's defense and sent Williams racing on through it to give Lomax an easy chance from 3 yards with silly Skolzieper out of position. Incredibly, no, all too credibly, Lomax stubbed the ball in his haste and it cleared the silly bar by a good 3 feet. Edson in the United goal saved well from Fear Rob had set up a fine chance with an elusive, how the cliches well up sinuous drill, and the same player actually had the haul in Edson's net after 27 minutes only to he ruled offside. Press box dirt blows across my pages. The smuts, the cramped seats, the ledge square, not the most comfortable angle for writing. This is, I suppose, the club's way of disregarding reporters, of getting its own back on us for what we write. How childish of me. City's attacks were breaking down in midfield, largely thanks to the ruthlessly destructive tackling of Mull. The United counter-attaches were ill thought out, and even when they threatened Phipps, his luck held out. No, even when they reached the City goal they ran foul of the charmed life Phipps bore in this game. City fans at the so-called popular end howled furiously at the 41st minute when Wisdom, picking up a long punt out of defense, tricked the only man between him and goal only to be 2 onlys there, brought arrested in his progress by being grasped about the neck, arm grabbed by Thompson. And their ire was justified, for the resulting flea kick was from 35 yards was no adequate compensation for what must have been a near certain goal. On the other hand, Thompson's action may be regarded with a certain Machiavellian justification. I should not be able to see both sides. Balls to impartiality should be furious at being denied a goal, or relieved at the situation being saved. The referee merely cautioned Thompson, which seemed a generous let-off for a crime for which City fans howled for his blood. Just before the interval, Wisdom failed to survive rise after a crunching tackle by Mull, and was removed on a stretcher with a suspected ankle or wharf. Mull had his name taken, and Beresford substituted, fresh grist to Mull's mill or something. God. The press room badly lit, double doors with pearl glass, not withstanding, oddly shaped ceiling, cramped under the stand. Only 2 phones, yes, I'll remember the public one near the entrance, convenient if I need it. 5 o'clock deadline today. Outside though, no way. Here directly. Up to press box, outside. At least it looks hot. I'm cold up there, no glass, no heat. My ungloved writing hand round the cup, warm, knee marked, indented, against rail, too, feels like cartilage trouble, and pork pies cut into sectors of their circles, a different taste. From London pork pies, better, more meat is it, less bland, tastier, more pepper. How ordinary these reporters look. Curious lot. I do not talk to them, they do not talk to me. But I hear the news. Go. Round that wisdom has a suspected broken bone in his foot. P. Yes. The light so poor. In this box, one bulb high up, can hardly see to right. Seeing they had half the field advantage / space automatically at the restart. The city forward, Setkva, though they would never he as near the united goal again. But again once more they ran up against the defensive stolidity of Mull and his men. I hope I can bloody pull this together. It would help if there were anything worth writing about. Even if it's a bad match, they tell you, disguise it. Write as though it were a good match. Bollocks to that, bollocks to this stinking match. The crowd surges forward to see the Comer opposite, a wave in motion, slumps back again. My hand numbs from cold. My mind from this tedium. Edson did well to get down to a speculative poke from Robbins, and held on to the haul despite the lanky threat of the young over eager Beresford, playing in his first league game. Thanks to Wisdom's injury, devoid of real incident, the match dragged its slow length. No, yes. There's Alexander, earlier, when he hit the bar. Alexander, dragging his slow length along from the right back, hit a long one which beat Phipps but struck the intersection, like a wounded snake has to be worked in somewhere. No. It'll never work, too contrived, scrub it. Yes, half times, where's the program, Chelsea, West Brom v. Chelsea, H, where's the board here, round at the far corner, H, 0-0, 0-0, something must have gone wrong. They ought to be able to beat West Brom, and their away record this season is very good, and they beat them 3-1 at the Bridge. Something must have gone wrong. I expected them to be at least one up. They can't afford to drop even 1 point at this stage of the season, at any time. For that matter, the referee, whose handling of the game had until now has been firm enough, was, no, libel. Seemed to be at fault in the 55th minute when he persistently allowed the city's defensive wall to move forward again as a free kick was about to be taken just outside their area. In the event, when United did decide to take it, Holman blasted the ball rocketed shot straight into the crowd halfway up the banking. This was the only noteworthy incident in the early part of the second half. Time after time attacks from both forward lines broke down, as often because of sheer incompetence as through the action of a defender. If anyone shown no it was young no Beresford, whose play was at least informed by enthusiasm. Not even a bloody quote from the crowd, don't hear them often. In any case, season ticket holders surround the box, not the sort to shout witticisms, by the look of them, cowed by seeing rubbish like this nearly every week. I should think. Beresford's virtues, apart from his enthusiasm, remember, are a startling explosive rocketing ricocheting burst of speed, and an ability to hold the ball under control in the tightest of corners. Minimum of space. Just on the hour this latter skill was demonstrated to fine effect when he had the United defense lunging 3 members of it at him without effect ineffectually. Whereupon he slipped the ball back from the 6_yard. On the by line to first only to see the sentry forwards rising. Shot cannon of Edson's shoulder, onto the bar, and be cleared. Magniloquently, ruthlessly, determinately, with out compunction etc. by the thundering skull of Mull in the middle. Ha! But that was the only real chance City had for the rest of the match. Or will it be? And United must have found it difficult to believe. There it was not that their approach work was not efficient, these negatives, but when it came to finishing either their shooting was off target or the phenomenally lucky Big Phipps got some limb portion of his in the way and saved the side, or Bacon side of Bacon. Does this bloody reporting effect destroy even my own interest in language? Sometimes I feel I have mislaid, perhaps not lost, something through this reporting, using under the pressure of deadlines the words which first come into my head, which is not good, relying on the chance of real words which may come in only the 2 hours of a match, and the writing about it, oh what the hell, not to descend to the methods of the heavy mob, who have their telling phrases thought out in a notebook already. I've seen them edit, Curly Bullocks himself, at least, the multi-million circulators. As well, they have their methods, as it were, as they think it is. Why do I do this? Only for the money. The matches are mostly crap. How do these household names go on doing it, for years? The thought of the money, I suppose. The same as I do. The same as I do. Beresford continued to play the inspired game of the classic debutant, stepping delicately through tackle after crunching tackle, but saw his efforts wasted high his colleagues. At the other end, Williams reached a denominator indicator of the barometer. Measure of desperation, yes. In that, unable to reach a Lornax cross with his head, he extended the legal area to punch the Hall in with his fist. But referee Waller happened to he only 10 yards away at the. This was all the more pyrrhic or whatever, because ref etc. A fast, violently in-swinging cross from Kelvin was proved too fast and in-swung for Williams. As the sent Christ. No. That's the story, then. The story, as the subs will think. It doesn't matter what happens in the last 8 minutes, that's the match, that's the story. It appeared the most innocuous of shots. Gordon, making ground from the position that used to be called right half-back, felt that the United defiance had fallen back sufficiently for him to try a long shot, but Mies hit it with that anticlimactic inefficiency which had characterized the whole match, and, as Edson advanced and stooped academically correctly to gather the ground shot with his body behind it, some demon chance gremlin, Trog thought, took over in Mull's mind that he could stop it himself, and accordingly stuck out a boot. To the chagrin of the rest of the United players, however, and the unholy delight of the City supporters, who must be used to and thrive on this kind of farce, be fed, weaned on it, welcome it, the ball spun lazily, slowly, inevitably, of his boot in a lazy parabola, as some would say, looping up and clear of the still stooping Edson's now upreaching arms to bounce once before crossing the line into the back of the United net. That leaves the goalie in a very strange posture. Now I must hack this into some shape, now I must make it into 500. Well chosen words. Yes. 500 they asked for. To hell with what happens in the rest of the match. Experience tells me nothing more is likely to happen for the rest. Less likely than not likely, as it were, as we all think. Get on. By 5. In 40 minutes. That will have to do. Competent, at least. 1 or 2 bits I'm pleased with, and it's 20 words or so under length, so the subs will have to find other excuses to cut it. Not that they need excuses. Now, the telephone, the outside one, with luck. Copy, please. Soccer, City versus United. Right. City 1, United 0. Skill was as uncommon as grass on the bone-bare bone. Bare pitch on which City beat United 1-0 at home yesterday, and only a farcical incident towards the end enlivened the tedium and crudity of the match. New PAR Phipps, tall and bulky as Frankenstein, had a staggeringly lucky match in the City goal. Within the first 10 minutes he dropped an easy center, but followed the ball with a prehensile hand. Just before 2 United forwards' feed hit it, he was badly caught out of position by a Thompson shot which landed just behind his bar, and then, after Holman had successfully hunted for a way through the City defense, he clapped his great hands together in comic relief as, from the far side of his goal, he watched Lomax stub the ball over the bar from no more than 3 yards out. New PAR. Okay. I'll wait. City seemed to believe that, surviving this, they could survive anything, and gradually came out of defense. First, after an idiosyncratically executed run. First, after an idiosyncratically executed run by Stevens, brought a fine save from Edson, and in the 20-7th minute had the ball in the United net, only to be ruled offside. But apart from these 2 chances, the waves of City's s attacks broke on Mull, United's s sweeper, the relentless destructiveness of whose tackling claimed a casualty just before halftime, when Wisdom went off with a suspected broken bone in his foot to give Beresford, the substitute, yes, Beresford with 1 R and 2 EES. Beresford, the substitute, his first game for City. New PAR. Beresford, whose play was at least informed by enthusiasm, stood out in the second half, and his tight control in the minimum of space brought a chance for first just on the hour, which Edson only just contrived to keep out. New PAR. Okay. In the other goal, Phipps' luck continued. Holman blasted a free kick over, Alexander hit the intersection, and anything more accurate seemed bound to hit some part of the City goalkeeper's s body. Williams recorded the highest reading on the barometer of this frustration when, unable to reach a Lomax cross with his head, he punched the ball in with referee Waller only a few yards away, and staring at him. New PAR. And then farce. Gordon Meese hit a long ground shot with the same anti-climactic inefficiency, with the same anti-climactic inefficiency which had characterized the whole match, as Edson advanced and stooped academically correctly to gather the ball, some thought took root in Mull's Oppo's trophy mind. Mull's mind that he could relieve his goal keeper of the trouble. The ball struck his Outstretched foot and arced upward and over Edson. Comma who strained backwards and fell. Awkwardly. Comma into the goal full point new PAR. OK. The remaining 8 minutes were played out to the continuing sound of the City supporters' S apostrophe. Delight at the goal comma and perhaps at the discom. Fitcher of Mull and the pain that Edson's apostrophe S. Last effort had apparently cost him full point for they are. That kind of crowd comma and this was indeed their kind of match full point. That's the lot, that's the end, the end. Except for the teams, OK. City first. Phipps Rob Rowlands driver Parjitter Par Jid Tur. Stevens with a V Calder Gordon Wisdom bracket sub. Beresford close bracket first with an S end. Robbins with 2 BS United Edson Ray. Dirk with an E on the end Thompson without. AP Price. Alexander Mull Holman Lomax Williams Kelvin. OK. Cheers.